Hello everyone, bro, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going over something that is very important for everyone. All right, if you want to make a heavy build, you need to go over these main things that I'm going to highlight in this build. All right, so without further ado, the three main things that we're going to go over in this build are high strength, number one, high agility, number two, and high charisma, number three. Okay, you guys might be wondering why I'm not going like high willpower, high intelligence, high fortitude, and I'll touch up on those a little bit in the video, but I want to go over high willpower in another video because there's a lot of bugs with it, surprisingly, and like no one knows about them. But these three main things are what you want to establish as the core for your build. Okay, before we talk about these three main things and how they work, I just want to ask y'all to please like and subscribe, bro. I will be making a part 2 to this with attunements alongside that willpower video that I'm promising. But, you know, if you guys want to know some good synergies with attunements and stuff, bro, make sure to like this video up, alright? Because then I'll be basically forced to make that part 2, alright? I'll let y'all know what attunements are best, what attunements to go, what you're looking for, etc., bro. I also have simple stats for, you know, your builds that you're looking to make down in my Discord below. All you have to do is subscribe to see those. That's all you got to do. And, you know, if you want to get like a starting point for your builds, that's a great way to do it. So if you need those, go ahead and click the link in the description. It's right there for you. But without further ado, let's get straight into topic number one, high strength. High strength is mostly used on builds that are looking to have a lot of damage output. You know, combining talents like Million Ton Piercer or Piercing Blow can really equate to a lot of damage. And, you know, who doesn't want a lot of damage, right? But there are some things that you guys need to know about high strength and things to kind of avoid, okay? Now, the number one thing to avoid, obviously, is Collapse Lung. Having a guard break make them unventable for 2 seconds, and I think it's like 1.75 if you shrine that down to like 80 strength, is near useless, okay? It can sometimes equate to an extra M1, but that's literally all you're getting, okay? From an extra 20 points over the normal 80 strength, an extra M1 on a rare guard break is not worth it at all, okay? So the main thing you guys need to take away, stay away from Collapse Lung, okay? And to go over Million Ton Piercer, okay? Million Ton Piercer is a little bit of an interesting one, okay? You can go Million Ton Piercer in your builds, but if you're not going over the pen cap of 50, it's really not too worth it. Obviously, if you have those spare 10 points, by all means, go over 80 strength and push past into that 90 strength category, because plus 5% pen on literally everything in your kit, including mantras, is really good, okay? That's worth the 10 points, but if that's preventing you from getting something like reinforced armor or a good mantra like Exhaustion Strike or 55 charisma, it's really not worth it, okay? You need to take some other options that should have more priority over that 90 strength, okay? The main purpose for going high strength is mostly for Sky Shatter Kick, number one, because that's 80 strength. Number two would be Piercing Blow. And for a little bit of shutdown, you could go Broken Ankles for your build, for a little bit of shutdown potential, and definitely good for ganks as well. So the main reason why people like to go high strength is for the synergy with Sky Shatter Kick, number one, which is a very good and quick mantra for heavy users. And number two, for Piercing Blow, because having true damage on guard break and pairing that with things like Stone or other high posture imaging moves like Pressure Blast to set up your opponent, it could be really good, okay? And that's the main reason why people go high strength. It's for that extra damage output, extra pressure, and to avoid your opponent from just holding F on all your moves, because you're able to guard break them and deal some crazy damage that way. So let's go over the next category, which is high agility. This category is mostly used for ganks. Unlike high strength, high agility is purely ganks for the most part. Sometimes you can put Jet Striker on a build and obviously have that do well in Chime. Jet Striker heavy is good. Jet Striker anything is good, matter of fact. But high agility is mostly that 90 to 100 area, and that's not very good for Chime. And the main reason for that is due to assassinations, okay? While high strength is good in literally everything, it can be good in shutdown, in high damage, and in ganks, this one isn't really used in all three. This one will be mostly shut down to ganks in specific, okay? And the main reason for that is due to assassinations, okay? I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of assassination builds pop up in the past few, I don't know, months or so, or weeks. And the main reason for that is pairing the assassination talents are very, very, very good, especially with heavy. Having all those separate buffs in total can increase your damage by a lot, okay? And not only can it only increase your damage, it can also provide a good shutdown with the ability to just flat out blind your opponent, make them like unable to move, put them on anti-heal, and many other things, okay? And that's why assassination is good. You can also stack this with things like dash and get some easy assassinations too. In my opinion, this is the most fun version of the 3 that I'm going to talk about today, but it's not too effective in the Chime or 1v1 scenarios, okay? This is purely for ganks, purely just a fun build, okay? If you make this build, you will not be disappointed with it at all, okay? And the main reason for that is due to Down Comes a Claw, number 1, and Maiming Claws, of course, and the Revenge talents, too, okay? They provide very, very good shutdown abilities, and your opponent will just not be able to run. Canceling your opponent's mobility mantras for 15 seconds just from one simple Revenge is huge, okay? And especially if you stack that with Pursuit, and you're able to use Revenge more than once in a single cooldown, it provides some really good situations, alright? And that'll really make it easy for you to catch people, especially if you're struggling with that in current ganks. And not only is it good for catching, it's good for running as well, okay? Having level 5 dash, having Adrenaline Surge is crazy good in ganks, and very valuable, okay? Especially if you're struggling in running, chasing, etc., okay? And finally, we're going to be talking about High Charisma. This one can actually have a few cool gimmicks to it, okay? Now, this one, once again, is purely for ganks. This will not be useful in Chime at all. High Agility does have some use in Chime due to the fact that Jet Striker is literally the best oath for Chime right now. But this one doesn't really have that Chime capabilities that High Agility or High Strength have. However, High Charisma has some very, very fun things to do, alright? So, first off, having that extra long charm from Lasting Charisma is very, very good, okay? Because a lot of people underestimate the survivability you can get from that. And alongside some other talents that benefit you from Charm, Charm can be a really strong thing in ganks, okay? It's kind of like a sleeper build, alright? You're not really expecting it to do big damage, but it does. Now, High Charisma is mostly a shutdown mechanic build because it involves things like Cornered Fool, Off Your Game, Taunt, and a lot of other, things to simply just slow down your opponent, okay? Off Your Game stacking with Taunt is a very, very good combination right there already for heavy, because a lot of people tend to run from heavy, hold S, etc., etc. They can't do that if you're High Charisma. Landing one Taunt will leave them in that state for 30 plus seconds if it's level 4 or above. And having that is very, very good, especially considering the fact that you get a lot of bonus damage from things such as Manipulator and other good talents like Encore with Sing, and some really good talents that give you some free damage, such as Cult of Personality. It's literally just free pen on your attacks, and who wouldn't want to pick that up, you know what I mean? And for the special gimmicks for this build, you could run a hybrid support/damage build with High Charisma for things like Vow Mastery, Sing. You could use Taunt, okay, to kind of just benefit your team while also being able to do crazy damage from things like Cult of Personality and Cornered Fool, okay? So, now that we've talked about all three, and I hope you guys have a good little overview of what these three actually mean, what we're going to talk about now is how to make a build with these, okay? Now, starting out with High Strength, you're going to mainly be using 80 Strength first and shrining it down. Sometimes you could go into that 90 Strength territory, but only if you have that spare 10 points for it. Now, for things like Chime, my personal advice is to go typically 80 Strength or 90 if you have the points for it. And then, obviously, you should be trying to go High Fortitude every single time, okay? For Chime, High Fortitude is just necessary, okay? There's no escaping the sustained meta in the game right now. And you kind of just need to go high fortitude to keep up with that, okay? For ganks, you can kind of drop the fortitude down to 50. I would advise to not go 25 fortitude, which is 50 fortitude shrine down, because you're kind of just turning yourself into a glass cannon with less survivability than the normal build. But back to Chime, what I'd advise is 80 strength pre-shrine, and then you could pair in either Jet Striker, or you could go, obviously, another oath like Chain Warden, Star Kindred, etc. Star Kindred actually has very good compatibility with high strength because the Star Kindred moves actually scale with strength. So the more strength you have, the more damage you're going to do. So my personal favorite combo is, number one, going that 90 strength pre-shrine for those of you that want that extra 5% pen, alongside 40 agility pre-shrine to get Ghost, because Ghost is personally one of my favorite talents in the entire game. I feel like it's needed on every build. And lastly, 55 charisma for that extra survivability. Now, obviously, this doesn't work for every heavy weapon, because some heavy weapons include the requirement of 100 heavy or other things like that. But this is the most standard of the standard builds for you to go, and there's really nothing beating this build. So now that you guys have seen this build, I want to talk about high agility next. Now, high agility, as I've said, is mostly used for ganks, and there's some options for high agility, is what I'd like to say. You could specifically go 90 for the assassination purpose for Dust Lunge and those talents like those, or you could push it to the 100 for the revenge talents alongside Maiming Claws. Now, Maiming Claws isn't really worth it, but the revenge talents are most definitely worth it, and I feel like the extra 10 points for those are almost guaranteed for any build. So, as you can see on the screen right here, this is what I would typically recommend for a gank build for an average heavy weapon, okay? Now, this is one of my personal favorite builds due to the fact that you are able to get high agility and high strength combined. Not only is that more shutdown capabilities, but you're also able to get more damage output alongside the high agility for assassinations. This is probably the ideal and typical build you will want to run if you are running an 80 heavy weapon or something below that, you know, because you're able to get that extra damage from strength. You have decent survivability with 50 fortitude alongside 25 willpower for the extra 10 health, and disbelief, which is a very good talent, by the way, and 60 charisma for your critical attacks, which you should be spamming in a gank personally. Now, I also invested to get level 4 strength mantras and level 5 agility mantras, because level 5 dash is miles better than level 4. Make sure to always get those, you know, to the highest level they could possibly be, especially if you have those spare points for it, which I did in this build. And for my hubris mains, don't think I forgot about y'all. This right here is what I would personally advise for a typical high strength plus high agility combination for a build. Okay, this is pretty much the same as the last one, except you don't get manipulator, which isn't too big of a big deal, especially considering you have much more damage potential with hubris and other things that you could use to get that damage up. For example, high strength, because guard breaks with hubris will be doing way more damage, and you still have the same survivability as the other builds, while just losing out on simply disbelief and manipulator slash those high charisma talents like lasting charisma and chaotic charm. Now that we've gone over both of my personal favorite agility options, let's move on to high charisma. Now, for the high charisma build, this is what I would typically recommend, alright? So we once again have that high strength combination because it's really just too good to leave out, alongside the 75 agility pre-shrine to make sure you get down to that 50 agility for Jet Striker, because this is for ganks, by the way. High charisma isn't really to be used in things like Chime or other areas, alongside the 90 charisma to get things like Off Your Game, Cult of Personality, and Cornered Fool. So this build has some very good shutdown capabilities with Broken Ankles, alongside Off Your Game to really just slow your opponent with Taunt and other things like that. This build has similar capabilities for the high agility ones, but this one obviously won't be as quick, and you won't be able to really move around slash run the same way as those high agility builds. And once again, let's just show you guys the hubris side to the build, which is possible, but you do have to make some sacrifices for this one, okay? Obviously, there are some ways to tweak this, but this is my personal favorite, because you combine things like 80 strength and the 90 charisma, like we just talked about, alongside the 75 agility, with the same survivability with 50 fortitude, but this time you're able to get hubris with 100 heavy weapon. Now for this one, you have to make some sacrifices because you are missing out on the extra 5 HP from Old Habits Die Hard, but that's kind of where the drawbacks end, okay? Missing out on 5 HP for the benefit of using a hubris is pretty large, and I would kind of take that for most of the trades, okay? So, now that you guys have seen all the potential best builds for heavy and how to make them, how to work them, what their benefits are, I want y'all to let me know what your personal favorite was down in the comments below. Let me know if you guys would change anything in these, and as usual, these builds will be linked in the description in my Discord. If you want to review them one more time, ask me some questions about them, I will be more than happy to help you out on your build making, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.